Welcome back. Well, the first few minutes have settled nicely in favor of the bulls. You will have to say whether you're an intraday bull or maybe even a slightly longer-term bull. This market is at the moment favoring you. Up about 0.5% on Sensex and the Nifty, and the breadth is important. It's about 3.5 stocks in the green for 1 in the red. That's a nice position to be in. Mid caps are up 0.8, so that's an even nicer position to be in. But how long do the good times last? Because they haven't lasted in the past 2 months. Repeatedly, rallies are getting sold into. On that note, let's welcome Dipen Seth, Head Institutional Research at HDFC Securities, our market master for the morning. Morning, Dipen. Thank you very much.
Morning.
Well, it's a key question actually now. Should one start buying now itself? More importantly for a trader, because the losses have been rather bloody in the past 8 weeks. Do you think we are still in danger of going below 8,000?
I'll pick on that line of yours, more importantly for a trader. So you don't have to be a trader in this market. This is a long-term bull market, and what we are seeing in this bull market is the first serious pullback, which is completely normal. This is part and parcel of these big multi-year, arguably multi-decade stories. If we are in the midst of this market then, and let's call it an if for now, then this is a great opportunity to start entering all over again. So if you're a late comer to the party, you were a little skeptical around the edges, this is actually an entry opportunity and you should be buying now. Does it mean markets can't fall? Of course not, they can. But I'd say the downside from here on looks limited, and the upsides look much more promising than what they did maybe a month or two ago.
Okay, so the upsides look more promising. Dipen, hi, morning. I was just going through your note, and in that you say that PSU banks will become a terrific value buy someday. Has that day come?
No, it hasn't. We can sense that they will become value buys because valuations in most cases are hovering around 1x or even way below 1x. Now, remember that price to adjusted book multiple varies or fluctuates widely as the accretion or pullback from the NPA book plays out. So if you do have a broad macro recovery, if you do have structural impediments in the way of PSUs, which means a good bankruptcy law, good law enforcement, good government policies which enable the genuinely stressed companies in, let's say, the infra space to be able to recover, sell off assets and restructure, then I think at some point of time PSU banks will offer amazing opportunities as the NPAs come back into the normal book. Right now I don't think that's happened, and that's really the ultimate aim for this government and new dispensation to play out. Can you make this entire stressed out environment of doing business in India with damaged balance sheets, can you bring it back to healing? I think we are away from that part, and I think the darkest moment happens before dawn. This is still not the darkest moment.
Okay, let's come to slightly safer balance sheets. Dipen, we had a bunch of FMCG companies announcing numbers, most prominent of them, of course, Big Boy, Hindustan Unilever, but then you had even the Kansai and Nerolac of the world announcing good numbers, Dabur announcing good numbers. In any case, what is your pick of the pack? So is that a pack you pick at all?
Oh yes. Again, the popular view is that FMCGs had a dream run in the last few years, so stay away from it. And yeah, the price is all wrong, and most stocks are 32, 35, 38, or maybe 50x or something for the Nestle's of the world or something. So, look, I think we have to now slice and dice the information sensibly in FMCG. Okay. One thing is that the Kansai Nerolac, for example, you mentioned Kansai, so I will also bring in Asian Paints. It's unavoidable in any discussion around the paints industry. They have 54-55% market share. So now Asian Paints is going for a shade under 30x, maybe 29x. It's pulled back from the recent 800 plus levels to a little below now, or wherever we are. This is a dominant player in a branded consumption category that can only see growth from here on. The raw material prices have cracked because of falling crude. You will and a very highly capable management with a terrific set of brands is now also branching out into adjacent spaces like kitchen, bathroom fittings, waterproofing and so on. So this is actually a broad proxy on macros, on housing, on infra. And if at 29x you're feeling too timid to get in, then I think you're missing the big picture, especially when you have raw material tailwinds like this and steady volume growth.
Okay. The other space that you've liked for quite a while now is the cement space.
Right.
I remember you giving us a lot of mid-cap cement companies, but today you've given us UltraTech Cement. What kind of an upside do you see then? What could the relative gain be versus an ACC or an Ambuja? Why do you like UltraTech more?
So the reason to buy UltraTech today is the reason to buy India. You've got a great story, multiple years of growth. Valuations were running a little uncomfortable for a while, and then you've seen this big pullback. So I say this is an opportunity to buy. So now valuations are south of $200 a ton. Remember, about 5 or 6 years ago, we would, salivate with expectation only when we saw $100 per ton or lower, and God knows there are still stocks at $50, $60. But here is a market leader, and once you have the Century and the JP integration, you will have something like 84, 85 million tons of national capacity. It will be very well spread out again versus the Lafarge Holcim, so Holcim being Ambuja ACC combined. Versus that combined, this is actually going to have a more balanced and better quality regional mix. Despite the fact that, of course, the Lafarge Holcim does bring in a little bit of Eastern India into the game as well, but still. Second, both JP and the Century brands are brands which sell for a discount, and with UltraTech gaining those brands into its fold, I suspect, I don't know whether they will rebrand or whether they will sell under the UltraTech brand, but the fact that the market leader is in charge of these brands and these operations will give back some pricing premium. So $190, costly. But the bigger opportunity looks fabulous for UltraTech. So if you look at infra spend, so the big argument for cement, despite the weakness in North India this time around, and I think there's been strength in the South, so which is why my favorite player down south, Orient, has done very well. But keep that aside for a minute. I think this is a story to buy into. This price point is probably not going to recover. Maybe we'll see 8 or 10% downside from here, but this is going to be a compounder for the next few years.
Okay, let me come to the space which probably most people own shares, autos. I mean, in your list you have chosen Maruti. You can't argue against Maruti's position in the market or its even recent performance. But how would you justify valuations? But my more important question is two-wheelers. You don't see any silver lining in any of them?
Oh, we see big fat silver linings. Again, Hero is now at a very, very affordable price, 30% down or so from its peak. And all the bad news is being talked, only the bad news is being talked about.
So buy it during
distress.
distress.
Yeah, this is a great company and you should buy into distress. It looks like a very unpopular and, anti-momentum kind of call to take. But that's what you need to do even with India in general. So now Maruti, on the other hand, is the big shining boy in autos, and it's going to shine for even longer than what most people imagine, because you've had sluggish macros for the last 2, 3 years. And Maruti has been, the economy has been struggling, and what have you, Maruti has actually improved margins to a level where there is a reset visible for long-term, sustainability of margins, whether it was with the integration of the engine operations, whether it's with new launches, whether it's with higher volumes, lower costs, commodity prices coming down, and you're going to see earnings almost double over the next 2 years, despite what most people are factoring in as moderately encouraging macros for Maruti. So there's this big, penetration story yet to play out in the rural interiors. And remember, most of the rural interiors of India now, the tier 2, tier 3 towns, are now actually getting semi-urban. And the first obvious thing to buy with newly acquired wealth is an automobile.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any fear on Maruti's earnings trajectory. So we have a little bit of that complaint on who should fund that Gujarat plant, and I think that part is still not clear. But if you look at the quality of operations, the pipeline, the launches in the pipeline, the success of the Ciaz recently, I don't think there's anything wrong here.
All right, well, your optimism is rubbing off on the markets as well. Dipen, the Sensex is now up 230 points, and the Nifty is up almost about 1%, and big moves coming in on mid-cap. I think we have time to squeeze in one last question, so I'm going to take the two banks that you've picked up for us, Axis Bank and Federal Bank. Federal Bank, in fact, just said that they would announce a bonus on the 16th of May. Why these two banks?
So for us investors, a bonus is just an arithmetical adjustment. So let's keep that aside for a minute. The reason to like Federal Bank today is that at a time when corporate lending was getting difficult, they actually held back their corporate book. They did face stress, but they met it head on, and they tackled it in a way that is now arguably brought the stress on their corporate balance sheet under control. One. Two, the dominant part of their footprint, whether it's deposits much more and lending slightly less, is in South India. Stressed out PSU banks are actually pulling the plug and holding back on South India. South India itself was going through a slightly tougher time than the rest of India over the last few years. And it's poised for a very strong comeback, I think, over the next 2 or 3 years. So here is Federal Bank, which is a dominant player, great market share, great brand name, lots of operating leverage still to play out, and the opportunity that is afforded by competitors holding back their guns. So I think ING, YCI and Kotak now getting a foothold is going to cause them problems. But I think the larger opportunities that are opening up for the bank are going to stand them in good stead. And what is Federal Bank? A bank with lots and lots of operating leverage opportunities. If you look at per branch productivity in terms of deposits, advances and so on, they're way behind the private sector peers. That's a bad thing, and that's an opportunity for them to pick up. So that, and you're at about 1.2x or something on F17 basis. That's absurdly cheap for a 1.3 plus ROA, if memory serves me right. On the other hand, on Axis, I think we are seeing a much more complete bank today versus what it was 3 or 4 years ago. So there is much more granularity on the deposit front, on the retail lending front. Now retail lending is more than 30% of the book. There are obviously the concerns on its infra book and so on, but they're not as broad as what you see in the larger banks like ICICI.
Fair point. Thank you very much for that list of micros and macros that you have discussed.
Thank you, Lata.
Dipen Seth.
Thank you.
Well, Dipen ended up by talking about the banks and said that the darkest hour of PSU banks probably is not yet here, and that they are an opportunity to buy for tomorrow.